things to talk about today. Look, is it shocking that the Warriors lost? Maybe not shocking. Is it a little surprising that they lost to a Nuggets team that didn't have Jokic, Murray? Maybe. Gordon, 38 points. He tried. Michael Porter Jr. finished with 21, 10, and 5. Jimmy Butler, 23, 8, and 6. Curry with 27 and 4. But here's the thing, Lou. We spent a lot of time talking about the Warriors, how they're on a tear and a run, and they set goals for themselves, and here we go. What do you take from a loss to a Denver team without their two main guys?
It looked like they were just uncharacteristic out of their bodies last night. You know, a lot of turnovers, a lot of missed shots. Didn't play the style of basketball, the brand of basketball we've grown accustomed to seeing them playing, especially with adding Jimmy Butler. They just looked out of sorts, and I thought Denver played a great basketball game. And it's difficult, right? And Danny can attest to this as well. When you game plan for a certain group of guys and then they're not in the lineup, it changes everything that you're trying to do as a team, especially when it's a game time decision or it's leading up to that moment where, you know, those two guys wouldn't play. I seen in the huddle, Steve Kerr talked about not allowing backdoors with Jokic. Jokic is out of the game. They're allowing a lot of back doors. So that changes your identity. It changes the way that you're going about the game. Then I feel like with the absence of those guys, it changed the way that the Warriors played the game. Probably took their foot off the gas a little bit going against this Denver Nuggets team. But this was a quality win for Denver. So you got to give them that shout out for that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I wouldn't say they were gassed. I thought Denver was gassed, hence the reason why they rested some guys. But we just seen not even a couple of days ago, the Lakers sat a bunch of people, and Denver almost lost to them. So I don't take much from this regular season loss. Yep. Golden State's been on a pretty good run. I'm going to say heater, but they had a good winning streak going. Jimmy's been fitting in well. They just got Kuminga back. So, they're still figuring some things out, but it's just one of those nights in the NBA. Anytime in the NBA you could lose, it could just be a full moon or it's just a strange night. Sometimes you lose.
Yep. It just happens.
So, yeah, I don't take much from it.
They're 3-4, Denver is, when Jokic sits. Oh, God, he's not the MVP at all now. That's what that number says to me. But I would imagine, though, a night when both those guys are sitting and you still get a win against a surging Warriors team, that's got to be a confidence builder.
Yeah, but they lost to Washington the other night.
Twice.
They had a tough stretch with the Lakers with Dalton Connect leading the show, and Bronny got in the games. So they rested a lot of guys. So last couple games, they didn't look like themselves. To have this and be able to rest, some of your main guys is a good boost.
It's kind of crazy that the Nuggets would play the Warriors if this thing started today.
That'd be a great matchup.
That'd be a great series.
Hate that matchup.
I would love that. But what Danny just said, it's different matchups, different nights in the NBA. You have teams, you have guys that go out there, do everything that they need to do to give you a chance to win games. But then if the coaches or front office is saying, tonight this is the plan, we're going to rest these guys or we're going to do this and that can change the identity of everything that you're trying to do. So at this point in the year, everybody's trying to find a rhythm, trying to find a flow of guys that they can depend on going into the postseason. Last night was a great win, but if I'm the Warriors, I don't lose a lot of sleep over this game. The eye test said they turned the ball over too much, fell in love with the three-pointer. They're one of those teams that's going to live and die with it, and it's okay. And so this is one of those games. They take some notes, they watch some film, they get over it and get ready for the next one.
All right, fair enough. Steph Curry was 6 of 21, and his coach afterwards had something to say about his performance.
And Steph's been carrying us for a month. He's been amazing. He's tired, so we got to get him some rest. I just you can see it. He doesn't have his energy right now, but he's exhausted right now. So we got to absolutely consider giving him a night and getting him rejuvenated for the sake of him and our the remainder of our games, but. We'll see, but I think he's been tired the last few games, and so we've got to find a way to get him his juice back.
Over the last 7, almost 34 minutes a game. It's kind of crazy how many times he said he's tired.
That should tell you. That should tell you the story of the NBA, though. You got guys that's pleading with a coach for some rest, and you got a coach that's probably going to plead with the player for him to rest, because Steph Curry is going to want to be on the floor. He's going to want to be available. But this is great from a coach. He has a great pulse on where his team is. He has a great pulse on where his superstar guard is, and he wants to be mindful of that going into the postseason. So That's the point I was making with different teams, different organizations. They got different goals in mind. This is a team that Draymond Green, he said at All-Star Weekend that they want to win a championship. Steph Curry is saying
he said they're going
to win a championship. Absolutely. And then you got Steph Curry, who says the only reason that he's playing basketball is for his 5th championship. This is not a team that's just getting in the playoffs and willing and dealing, seeing what's going to happen, and we're gonna go in with a blindfold on.
No, they're intentional.
They're very intentional, and so that shows. So from organization to organization, it's always interesting to see what the game plan is going into the postseason.
Jimmy Butler was asked about it as well, about how tired Steph Curry is. His quote, "That's on me and that's on us as a unit to pick up the slack for him. He's our leader and we must protect him." What'd you make of that?
I mean, that's what Jimmy's there for. That's what they brought him in for, right?
Sure.
To give Steph a rest, be able to be on the bench and not have to worry about getting back in right away. Because Jimmy's the guy to kind of take over that second unit or lead the troops in that second unit. So, yeah, I mean, and Jimmy's been great for them, you know. Steph is also not young anymore. You can't, regardless of how many minutes you reduce or games sit off, he still is 36 years old. He's not going to be able to do the same things he was doing at 26. So he's going to need a night or two, and nobody knows him better than Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr's been around him probably the longest of anybody in that organization. So, yes, he knows when Steph needs a rest. He knows when he needs a game or two. And this is what Jimmy's there for. Kuminga, all those other guys, they can find a way, you know, to keep you afloat while Steph takes a game or two here or there.
And when Jimmy says we must protect him, that's in game. Like when you go to your second unit, you got to be able to buy 2 or 3 minutes for Steph. Like if he's usually going to come in
at least 5.
At least 5. Like if he usually comes in at that 8-9 minute mark, how can you get Steph in at 6.5 so he can have those extended breaks and periods of time during games where he can rest and he can feel rejuvenated? They haven't been able to do that when you play against a team like this, and you have to get him in there earlier to be able to still put yourself in a position to win those games. So when Jimmy says we must protect him, it's not a physical thing, it's a basketball thing. The guys got to step up, fill in the gaps, and play better basketball.
And a mental thing more so than anything.
Absolutely.
They don't have a lot of time. They play Milwaukee today, but then they play the Raptors, and then they go on a monster-long road trip. So somewhere in there, which is weird because Steph doesn't
East
like
Coast
to take.
road trip?
It's everywhere. It's Atlanta, Miami, New Orleans, Spurs, Grizzlies.
It sounds like they got a couple games where he can rest in.
But he hates to rest on the road because he knows
he's a competitor. I said he's a competitor. He wants
the West ones.
He's a pro.
Steve Kerr knows him well enough, and said he's saying it, emphasizing it as many times in the media, letting him know subconsciously, Steph, you need to sit down. It's okay to rest for a little bit.
Well, Thursday at home against the Raptors, I'll predict it. Maybe he takes that one off.
I think he takes Raptors, Spurs, maybe New Orleans.
Yeah, because they've seen
anything at home,
but not the East. The East is
anything
the
at home, and I respect the fact that he doesn't want to rest on the road. That's humility, man. Like knowing your fan base, knowing there's people that's coming out to see you, buy tickets that normally wouldn't go to some games or some matchups. I love the approach. I love, Danny said he's intentional. These guys are intentional about everything they do. So I'm guessing that it's going to be the Toronto Raptors game that he rests.
That's what I'm guessing too. I have $1 on that. An hour before tip-off was when it was officially announced that both Jokic and Murray are going to sit this one out. They did play a bunch of minutes against the Wizards on Saturday, which we know now has been a loss. They play the Lakers on Wednesday. Any conspiracy theories as to this was their rest?
I mean, I just think they were gassed, and it had to do with the Washington loss, the Lakers' tough game they had against the Lakers with Bron, Luka, Rui. Like, they had a bunch of guys sitting out, and they were still very much in a tough game. So I think Mike Malone looked at them and said, you know what, these guys need a break. And if we want to keep them fresh before playoffs, they're in a good spot seeding-wise. They can stay in a good spot. But I don't think it's just for this one particular game against the Lakers. They had lost to the Lakers with Bron and Luka, and it didn't look good the times that they played against them. So they want to see if they end up matching up with them in the playoffs. I'm sure they want to see what they look like at full health and full strength. But I don't think they're preparing for just one game. I think they're seeing the bigger picture and saying, you know, we got to make sure we pace these guys to make sure they're fresh when the playoffs happen.
What do you think, Leo?
No, I agree with Danny. Like, everybody is playing cat and mouse right now, finding breaks. Like, and this is the time of year. Like, we're 3 weeks out from this playoff run. Everybody is trying to figure out their best route, best position they could put themselves in going into it. You know, so a lot of teams are going to find games here or there. They're going to look at matchups that they may look at in the playoffs that they want to see their team's full strength, like Danny just mentioned. And so everybody is starting to kind of bunker down, get into mode, get into playoff mode, and figure out what works best for them. And again, it's important for all of these guys to be fresh, rejuvenated going into it. You don't want to go into the postseason limping into it because of some of these individual games that may not mean a lot as far as seeding or anything goes. So you don't want to put those guys at risk, and so that's what you're looking at.
Especially in the West, because I feel like it's so balanced. I don't think it really matters where you seed.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it,
Unless
they're
you're
pretty
trying to avoid the number one seed.
And there's no easy route, so it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you are trying to avoid LA. It is kind of jumbled up, 3, 4, 5. It's a little bit of a mess there. Some people think that the Stars only come back really when they play the Lakers. And Lou, you love conspiracies. Do you believe in that one?
I don't believe in that one, but if we're gonna throw gas on it, you know, this is the Showtime Lakers. It's a few places that players really enjoy playing. Yeah. Madison Square Garden is going to be one of them. Crypto, formerly known as the Staples Center, is gonna be another one. Boston is another one. Like these are legacy places. These are places that guys know that they're going to get the most out of the fan base. It's going to be a great environment, great atmosphere to play basketball. And who doesn't want to compete against a LeBron James or Luka Doncic under those bright lights? And so a lot of guys just know destination places to play on the road.
I think when people say that, they're speaking of Jamal Murray and how he emerges in the playoffs from Urkel to Stefan. Stefan in the playoffs. So he just, and it's usually against the Lakers. So he has his, better moments against the Lakers in the playoffs. So I like to see, and I think it's a thing.
I like it.
For him and Jokic have really good series and really good games against the Lakers in the playoffs. It may not happen this year during the regular season, but in the past, and we're hoping to see anyway, I want to see Jamal Murray get back to his normal self consistently. He's had some ups and downs this year, but he's been great overall, but just not what people expect of him. But in the playoffs against the Lakers, he's definitely Stefan.
He's been awakened. Yeah. Pacers, T-Wolves, another game that happened. This one maybe